I am so excited to introduce this week's guest on Who Wears Your Pants, Kate Trammell. She is a flight attendant. She is my sister-in-law, and she is currently with child. Welcome.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
This is also the first virtual episode of Who Wears Your Pants.
I feel so honored.
So congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I know right before we started rolling, we were talking about how you have been a flight attendant for nearly a decade.
Yeah, I can't believe it's gone by so quick.
So why don't you start us off by explaining how you got into being a flight attendant? Because it seems like not necessarily a typical career path.
For sure. Honestly, I just kind of fell into it. I was in college, and my parents were living overseas in Saudi Arabia at the time. And I went to go visit them, and I met one of my mom's friends who at the time was a flight attendant with Emirates, which I mean, as far as airlines goes, that's kind of so glamorous and just up there what you think of when you think of luxury travel.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to her, she was just like, "Oh, have you ever considered being a flight attendant before?" And she was just talking about all of her travels. And I hadn't really thought about it. And I mean, I love people, I love traveling. So, all of the things just kind of fit. And it kind of hung there in the back of my mind for a while. And I didn't really think about it until several years later. I was looking for jobs and I thought, hey, why not apply? Because, I mean, it sounds glamorous, it sounds fun, you get to travel places and meet people, and it just sounded perfect. So I thought, why not give it a shot?
And now here you are 9 years later.
Here I am 9 years later.
Yeah. Well, and
I
mean,
can't imagine doing anything else. I feel like normal jobs get ruined for you in some ways with this job. So
yeah, like the thought of sitting in an office all day just would not be something that you could do.
I mean, every day is different, and every month changes where I go and what I want to do. It's really nice because you're constantly around different people. I mean, even coworkers. If you work at a normal 9 to 5 office job, you're gonna sit next to Sarah in the same cubicle every day. Whereas I usually, a lot of times when I go to work, I'm meeting my crew for the first time. I mean, when passengers get on board, we might seem like we've known each other forever. And sometimes we have. Sometimes we fly with the same people again. But a lot of times I met them 30 seconds before passengers start coming on board. But generally the type of person that becomes a flight attendant, somebody that's pretty easy to get along with for the most part. So
yeah, I never really thought about that. That it's like it's like you constantly have a new team of employees.
Yeah, and I mean, same with passengers too. I mean, if you have a passenger that's not so great, the nice thing is they get off your flight, and unless you're really unlucky, you don't see them again.
Yeah. Okay, so I know a couple of experiences that you have personally shared with me, but what have been some of the wackiest things that have happened on flights?
I mean, honestly, it's endless. Every flight attendant I know has so many stories. I feel like all of us could just write a book about just the weird things that people do. The thing about travel is it really brings out the absolute best and the absolute worst in people. So, I mean, you get some of the not so fun stories, like the guy that tries to smoke in the bathroom on the flight. Yes, people actually
People
still
still
do
do
try.
that?
I know. It's
Oh,
it hasn't been allowed on planes since probably the early 90s, I would guess, but nope, people still try to light up, and people think that they can go in the bathroom and get away with it. If you hear the fire alarm go off in the bathroom, it is very loud. There's no pulling one over on it. So,
yeah, wow. Because I look at the ashtrays and I think to myself, who actually tries to do that still? Like, how is
well,
that?
it's funny because so many people are like, why are these still on planes? This plane was
Yeah.
obviously made after when smoking was no longer allowed on commercial flights. But the reason that they do still have them on planes, and we're actually required to have them, it's one of the items that we're required to check that it's in place when we get on board,
Mhm.
is the ashtrays, because people will try to smoke, and when they do, you have to have somewhere to put it. You can't just put a cigarette in the trash and not expect the rest of the trash to light on
Yeah.
fire. So
Have
that's
you
why
ever
that's
had to intervene with that, or even obviously the Mile High Club?
I knew you were going to ask about the mile high club. I mean, I can't. So okay, I can't speak for all flight attendants, but I can speak for most of my coworkers and say I would never. Those bathrooms are disgusting. And
No one's having sex on an airplane because of the luxury.
yes, but like let's just say this. It's not water on the floor. It's not water on the floor. Put your shoes and socks on when you go into the bathroom because it's
I
not
totally
water.
go to the bathroom without my shoes on.
So many people do. It's usually on like longer flights, but you see somebody go in there with bare feet and you're just like shaking your head like, oh my gosh, the 5-year-old kid that went in before you in turbulence just went crazy in there and you're not wearing shoes and socks. But the Mile High Club thing, like I personally have like caught 2 people, I think, or like 2 different occurrences of it happening. It wasn't sneaky. And like I didn't knock. Like whatever. I'm just gonna leave that be. Like if there's a line growing for the bathroom or something, I might give him a little.
So they both go in together. What's happening here is like one person and then the other person walks in and is like, I think that my partner's quote unquote sick, or like what's unfolding? How do they end up in there?
I don't even think I don't even think people are that sneaky with it. I mean, I guess some people could plan it out, but the times that I've seen it, it's been like an all-nighter flight. Someone goes into the bathroom. I mean, I'm not standing there keeping track of who's going in, but every once in a while you will notice, oh, 2 people just came out of there. Either someone needed assistance or someone needed assistance.
Someone was needing some special assistance. Oh my God. Because that is like a felony, is it not?
I don't think it's a felony. I mean, obviously you're not supposed to be doing that in an airplane bathroom, but I mean, of all the naughty behavior on flights, Mile High Club doesn't even really make the top of the list.
Oh my God. Okay, so what is on the top of the list?
I think one of the worst thing, one of the grossest things that I've had happen on a plane is, I was going through collecting trash, and it's funny, you know, you always think about flight attendant being a glamorous job. Like I swear to God, like half of the time is just collecting garbage. It's so much trash. But going down the aisle and I was picking stuff up, and I thank goodness I had my gloves on, but going through and somebody hands me a cup and what looks to be juice. And, you know, sometimes people don't finish their drinks, and so that's fine. I take the cup, and the cup's warm. It's not juice.
Oh, and you're like,
somebody just handed me a cup of urine. I give it back to the guy, and I'm like so shocked and disgusted. I barely even know how to like form words at this point. I say, we have restrooms on board. They're in the back. You are going to go in there, put that in the toilet, flush, wash your hands, and never do that again.
like a C-snap cake coming out. And is this a grown man?
This is a grown man. And I don't like, I mean, it didn't seem like he'd never flown before. It didn't seem like this was a new experience for him. I mean, I think most people know that planes tend to have lavatories, and that's the appropriate place for it. And he was like in an empty row to himself. So, I mean, I don't think anybody else saw this go down. But
I just need to ask, because when I think about the cups that are on the airplane, those are small. So, I mean, that was like a tinkle of urine.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like when I pee, it's like a gallon.
Yeah. But, and I mean, color-wise, it looked like juice. So, I mean, hydration probably wasn't his highest priority, along with a variety of other conventions.
Oh my God. What was his facial expression when he was caught? I wonder if this is like a fetish for him of like, whenever I fly, I try and get away with like pissing in cups and giving it to girls.
Oh God. I mean, like he didn't seem particularly ashamed of it, but I definitely like used my don't mess with me voice. I was like, you're going to go into the bathroom now and we're not going to do this ever again.
Oh my God. It's like he's like a small child. Wow. Okay. And I know that is insane. I know that you've talked sometimes about like how on different flights, there's like, it's almost like different demographics of attendees, like when you
Oh
go
my
to
gosh.
Alaska versus when you go to Hawaii versus like an LA flight.
Completely, completely. Like working flights to different destinations, um, they have a very different flavor to them. So like working like West Coast, like flights to California versus flying into Atlanta in the South versus flying up to Alaska. I mean, it's just it's
Mhm.
all so different versus like the even vacation crowds, like you'd think you'd get pretty similar crowds going to like Mexico or Hawaii or Florida, but oh my gosh, they are all so unique in their own way. In certain
Like
flights, there's definitely ones that you don't want to work.
if we blindfolded you and put you on an airplane, could you figure out where you were going?
I feel like I could actually. I feel like flight attendants. We have this game like when a plane gets in from somewhere, like we're sitting there waiting for our plane to arrive.
Mhm.
Sometimes we will play the game of where did this plane come from, and honestly, even just by like looking at people getting off the flights. I mean, like obviously some of it is a little more obvious. You see a bunch of people getting off in like big giant coats, like yeah, they probably came from somewhere colder like Alaska or maybe East Coast during the winter time, but
Mhm.
it's all very different.
What's your favorite route?
To work or layover.
Ooh,
um
either.
yeah, I mean obviously Hawaii flights are great. I mean everyone on those flights are so happy because I mean they're going on vacation. Most of the passengers are going on vacation. And I mean, then you get the wonderful layover. I absolutely adore Hawaii. It's one of my favorite places. Um, these flights are a lot harder to work, but I love New Orleans flights just because that's one of my favorite layovers. There's so much to do in
Oh.
New Orleans, but also you get a party crowd with that, so that means the flights can be more challenging.
I love
And
how kind you are when you say that. I feel like though, is that fun? It's like fun to a point, but then it's not. Like hosting a party is fun and then suddenly
yeah,
it's not.
it can be. I mean, it can be. I mean, anywhere you go, you can have fun people. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts about the job is meeting and chatting with all these people. Everyone's traveling for different reasons and going different places, and it's fascinating. And I get a lot of my recommendations of places that I want to travel to or places that I want to visit on layovers from passengers on board. I like to hear their stories and talk to them. So I
Mhm.
mean, that can really be a blast. But on the flip side of that, if you have a bachelor party going to Cabo. I mean, most of the time they're super
That sounds
fun, but
great. Put
it
me on
sounds fun, but
board.
sometimes you just get the out of control people and you can't actually get on a plane intoxicated, so
Mhm.
sometimes it makes for some uncomfortable situations if somebody gets on board and they're clearly just sloshed, then they're gonna have to go back in the airport and wait for the next flight. But that's not how it goes the majority of the time.
Have you ever had to kick anybody off?
Yes, a
Oh
lot.
God.
It happens pretty often. It's actually pretty nice. Most of the time, if we're on the ground, the ground agent, the customer service agent, uh, gets to deal with it. But
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we assess the situation and talk to the individual and make sure they're fit to fly, whatever that means, whether it's not being intoxicated or just giving off some weird, creepy vibes or whatever. We're there as like the first line of defense because anything that's not fun on the ground is going to get arguably worse up in the air. So air rage is a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had some interesting flight situations unfold
I've heard some of them, and
that
they are
tend to
very
err more on
interesting.
the creepy side of things. And then
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like, I can't leave. You're sitting next to me for God knows how long.
That is
And
the nice thing about being a flight attendant. Generally, if there's someone that's bothering me, unless it's something like I have to actively deal with, like
yeah.
I can just go to the other side of the airplane. Oh, I gotta go get something. Oh, I gotta go do a water service, whatever it is.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of flight etiquette, like if you could give, obviously you guys give the safety information and all of these things, but you can't stand there and be like, this is what you should and shouldn't do when you're on an airplane. And I think that some people don't really understand. It's like they get up in the air and like it's a whole new world.
All social norms go out the window.
Yeah. So I guess like what is some etiquette that you would like to bestow upon our lovely listeners the next time they fly, especially since now it's like we have a new age of birth with, you know, the world's kind of reopening a little bit. People might start traveling more.
Everything is different now, I feel like. But so much of travel is common sense things, but
Let's pretend like none of us have common sense.
okay, this one's like particularly applicable to like flying right now, but in general, if you need something, you need to bring it. You can't come on board and be like, oh, I need diapers for my baby. Like,
People ask you for
oh
that?
my gosh, how do you get on board and not have diapers or baby formula or whatever it is that you need? I mean, like, obviously, like if there's like a medical situation and you're like, oh wow, my blood sugar is really low and I need like a juice or I need some snacks or something, like I got you there, of course. And of course we're there with service and all of that, but there's something really, really, really specific that you need, bring it with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, now our service is drastically reduced. We don't even serve food most of the time on the plane, so people come on board for a 6-hour flight and they don't bring food. I'm like, oh no, well, have some bags of peanuts.
You're like,
Or
here,
not
read
peanuts,
this
pretzels.
book.
We don't have peanuts anymore.
It's called The Diary of Anne Frank. I think you'll survive.
Yeah. Be prepared. That's probably my first one. Honestly, like, this is so basic, but when you're getting on board, say hi to your flight attendants. Like, we're greeting you. We're saying, how's your day going? Welcome on board. 9 out of 10 people just look at me like I'm crazy or don't say anything. And it's just like, how hard is it to say hello or like just give a nod or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. People never, so often people don't say anything. And we're kind of like, of course, like I said, we're gauging people coming on board, making sure that they're safe to fly, and they start behaving weirdly, then they kind of get on our radar in not a good way.
So if you are stoned out of your mind or you have something to hide, just acknowledge the flight attendants and they'll leave you alone.
I mean, don't make it weird, but
that's the motto. Don't make it weird.
I feel like that's just a good travel motto.
Yeah.
Don't make it weird. Gosh, what else? Wash your hands. Obviously that's been something that's important in the last year, but planes are dirty, people are dirty. That tray table is probably not as clean as you think it is. Wash your hands, bring hand sanitizer, whatever.
That just reminded me, I don't know if it was you or my other Stephanie, my friend who's a flight attendant, but someone was telling me that like people will change baby diapers on those tray tables. Like people do anything and everything you can imagine on those tray tables.
There was like one of those like 2020 specials that was like talking about travel and how filthy it is. And they did swabs of all these different places on the airplane. So they did like the toilet seat, the door handle in the restroom, the tray table, like all of these spots, and did little like germ swabs on them, basically, to see like what comes up. Guess what the dirtiest place on the airplane is?
Is
like
it the tray
everywhere
table?
On the plane?
The tray table?
It's actually the seatbelt. Because everybody touches the seatbelt.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, but I mean, obviously, yeah, places like tray tables and stuff like that, like people absolutely will change their babies on them. They're not supposed to. We have changing tables in the restroom, obviously, for that. And maybe don't change your baby's diaper on the thing people tend to eat off of. But I mean, also like seeing people like trim their toenails on those, like I said, social norms go out the window on the plane. Use common sense. Maybe save personal grooming for in the lavatory or at home.
I will be completely transparent with you and tell you that one time I did pull a pretty dumb move, and I was on an airplane, and I really wanted to paint my nails.
Oh no!
And I was like, I have 5 hours. I have nothing to do. Like, I might as well like paint my nails because
You
I'm
were
just going to
that
sit here.
guy.
And I start painting my nails. The flight attendant comes over and she's like, could you put that away? This was years ago. And I was like, oh, sure. Like, and then she explained to me, she's like, the smell is really powerful. And then all of a sudden I thought to myself, Kirsten, you're sitting in a tube and you're like letting these fumes go everywhere.
Yeah, nail polish is
That's a
definitely one of
lesson
those
learned.
things that's rough. But like
Yeah.
also you get people that bring on board like the stinkiest foods imaginable. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, oh my God, I love the smell of like Panda Express, like something really delicious, or like fresh baked pizza, and you're like, oh my gosh, that smells amazing. But like when
A
you're
stinky
pulling out
cheese.
like fish and chips, clam chowder,
Mm,
really just like pungent foods, it's like, oh my gosh, everyone within like a 15-row radius of you is now smelling that food. Like
yeah.
just common sense, man.
Okay,
Common
yeah.
sense.
So what else you got? So be nice to the flight attendants. Don't make it weird. Use your common sense. Be cognizant of which foods you choose to enjoy.
Hydrating is really important. You get really dehydrated at high
Oh, yeah.
altitudes, so people often forget to drink water, or choosing only to imbibe in alcohol, because I mean obviously it's more fun to drink on the plane. And then
Mhm.
they stand up and then they pass right out. That's like our
Oh,
most common medical
wow.
situation on board, is someone will just stand up after not having drank water all day, and
Mhm.
then they'll hit the floor.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, how often do you have medical emergencies on airplanes? Because you guys are trained to a degree to manage that.
We are, yeah. It's actually we go through so much training, and it's so fascinating because my training when I went through it was 6 weeks long, and we spent 1 day on service, which is, I mean,
That's like all you
90% of our
do. Yeah.
job is really doing service oriented things. But we spent 95% of our time learning the things you don't want to have to use, the emergency evacuation stuff, the medical stuff, all of that. So, I mean, it happens more than you would think. I've been, knock on wood, really lucky lately with flying, where I haven't had too many medical situations. And, you know, the nice thing is 9 out of 10 times there's going to be somebody that's more qualified than you to deal with it. We obviously, I'm sure a lot of folks have heard the page for medical, um, anyone with medical experience, doctors, nurses, all that. So when we ask for that, people will hit the call lights, and then we kind of go figure out who's got the most experience for what we've got, the situation we have going on, and kind of triage from there.
Yeah.
But we also have a tool basically that's like the 911 of the airplane, where if there's not somebody that is more qualified than we are, they can walk us through various procedures depending on how serious it is. But
Mm.
again, 9 out of 10 times, most of the time it's just somebody that's dehydrated or has low blood sugar or what have you, and we just put them on oxygen and they feel a lot better.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, but I mean, sometimes it can be more serious things. I have had friends of mine that have had passengers pass away on flights, and I mean, I'm really grateful I haven't experienced that, but we are trained with
Yeah.
basic medical stuff. We have an AED, and we know how to do CPR and all that. And you have to go through training on that every year to make sure that we're keeping those skills up to date.
That's wild.
For sure.
Could you imagine giving birth on an airplane?
That would be awful. It happens though. It happens on like longer flights. I mean,
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, is there anything else? Because actually that just made me think about asking you about being pregnant, but is there anything else
yeah.
from a flight attendant perspective that you're just like, oh, I want people to know this, or you're like, please, the next time you fly, think about this, or just an experience that you've had?
Well, things are really hard right now. I mean, they're hard for everybody right now, just with the environment like it is with coronavirus and all that. But just be nice to your flight attendants. Like a lot of people have lost their jobs right now, and
Mhm.
flying isn't super fun right now. So if you do travel, just be a little extra nice to your flight attendants. They could use a little kindness, and just in general, just it's like any other customer service job. Just be nice to people. Like
Yeah.
we're there for you, and we like to have fun with it and get to hang with people and get to chat with people.
Well,
So
I was gonna say too, that made me think about how, I mean, like since our family met you, like the way, like when I've flown with Blake or anything like that, it's like, and even think about this when I'm alone now, like going out of my way to like walk up to the flight attendants and have a conversation with them. Or like, I know Blake always brings treats to give whenever we'd fly. If you're
That
not
doesn't
there,
hurt.
you guys both do that. And like, they just like love it. And then, and then what ends up happening is they end up bringing us drinks on the airplane. And it's
Yeah.
like, it becomes more of an enjoyable experience, I think, for everybody.
It's like any other job. We just like to be acknowledged. It doesn't need to be anything big. You don't have to bring chocolate, although we won't be mad if you do. But
Just
just
don't, no poking.
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, no poking, please.
Oh man. Okay, so you are 24 weeks.
I am 24 weeks and 2 days today.
Do you know when you conceived?
Not exactly, no.
If it's 24 weeks and 2 days?
Yeah, I mean, like technically you can figure it out like that because they count like before you get pregnant. Like it starts from when
Oh.
you ovulate is when they start counting that date. So like technically you're not like knocked up until like a good couple days into the process. So, but
Oh.
no, I couldn't pin it down to like this is specifically when this happened. But
Because
sometimes
it's like
it's up to
sperm can
birth.
live inside of you for up to 5 days, I think it is,
Yeah,
which is insane.
it's crazy for sure.
Okay, so then you like roughly the week-ish,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so 24 weeks and 2 days. What size is it today, this week?
Oh, I always there's all these apps that will tell you like what various sized vegetable you're at, and
Hmm.
Blake and I both kind of agreed they're not exactly. They don't seem accurate. Like last week was grapefruit, and this week they say pomegranate, and I'm like in my head like. I mean, I guess there's some variability in grapefruits, but I'm like, I feel like a grapefruit's bigger than a pomegranate.
I would agree. I guess it depends, like an organic grapefruit versus a non-organic pomegranate.
Well, and then there's other apps that will like tell you things other than fruit. Like there's one app that will tell you in specifically the theme of weird but cute animals. So this week
Hmm.
would be an Atlantic puffin. And I'm like, well, that's cute. But then the week that it was like telling me like a common squirrel, I was like, I don't want to think about a squirrel inside of me. That's creepy.
I don't want to think about any of those. I don't even know what.
I mean, I feel like fruit's harmless. That's probably why most of the apps go with that.
I
But
feel
yeah,
like having a squirrel inside of you is less weird than having a human inside of you.
honestly, yeah. It's pretty strange and it's so easy to like forget about it for a little bit and then all of a sudden you get like movement going and you're like, "Oh yeah." It's like I just keep flashing back to that scene in Alien.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
You've never seen Alien? Okay, well you should
No.
definitely watch that, but it will not decrease your fear of childbirth, I'll say that.
Jesus. Yeah, I think that we can really blame Susan for that because for anyone that's listening, when I was younger, I don't know if I ever told you this, but my aunt, she was pregnant for the first time and was forcing me to sit there and watch. Okay, force is like an extreme word, but pretty much she put on these like documentaries of women like actually giving birth. And I watched it with her and I was permanently mortified because it was
How
like
old were
up in the
you?
business real. I mean, it was when she was, I think she had just had Emmy. So I was like 12.
I was gonna say, is this like a weird form of like don't have sex because you will get pregnant and die sort of thing?
Yeah, you will get pregnant and die. Um, I don't know. I think she was just messing with me, but it really did kind of scar me. Uh,
Oh, like I'm like 24 weeks pregnant and I'm like, I'm not Googling that.
you're like, I'm not signing myself up for that. I'm sure when the moment arrives, it will happen.
Whether I like it or not.
Yeah, well, it will happen whether you like it or not. Um, okay, so when you found out, like, did you have that feeling of, I know I'm pregnant?
No, I Like I honestly, I had a really stressful month. I actually had my flight attendant recurrent training that month, so like I was super stressed out about
Mm,
going in and taking all the tests. So of course, you think, oh well, maybe I'm just late because I'm stressed. Because I mean, that's a normal thing that happens. And it was
mm,
really funny because it was planned, so but we weren't expecting it to happen as quickly as it did.
mhm.
So I was definitely thinking, nah, that's not it. And I actually had LASIK eye surgery scheduled for the next month, which you're very much not allowed to do while pregnant. But so I remember taking the test
Oh.
and just going, oh shit, I'm going to have to reschedule my eye surgery.
That was your first thought. You're like,
Maybe not my
"But the
first thought. My
LASIK."
first thought was definitely, oh shit, even though it was planned. Like, I mean, like, I don't think anybody's ever ready to like look down and like see the like I'm pregnant on the
Mhm.
pee stick. And it was just like, and Blake made fun of me so hard. I must have taken 6 pregnancy tests. Like, I mean, they're pretty accurate.
Mhm.
They're pretty accurate. A lot of them are like they have different ones where like one will just digitally straight up be like you're knocked up.
Yeah,
But then you
it
have
says
some
that.
that will get
You're
like
knocked
different
up.
lines and different colors, and some of the
Oh
lines
yeah,
are
and
really,
you're like, is that one line or is it two?
yeah,
It's looking a
yeah,
little, it's
no.
a little blurred.
So it's like even after like I went to see my doctor, I was like, should I take another one just to make sure? Like, it was definitely shock.
Yeah. Yeah. I have taken a pregnancy test or two in my day. Primarily though, really just out of being like I'm it's like in my mind I'm like I'm not, but there's like that thing in the back of your head. This is like when you're not trying to get pregnant and you're like, but I could be. And I'm like I'd rather just know. I'd rather just feel good. I'd rather just be
Just
on the
check it
safe.
out. Yeah, just
It's a surprisingly quick test.
it is.
You
Yeah,
know in like a minute. So,
exactly. Just
yeah.
put that at ease.
So, how long were you guys trying? And I think actually this is something to like bring up because I feel like a lot of, and I know like a handful of my friends like are pregnant or working on getting pregnant or whatever have you, which blows my mind. But like it seems like it takes some people a long time, some people not a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the more I've kind of gotten into this, the more I realize like I feel like for most of our lives we take so much effort not to get pregnant, a lot
Hmm.
of us.
Hmm.
You think it'll just happen so quick, and I mean it did happen pretty quick for us, but I have lots of friends that have had a lot of issues conceiving, and I mean, the thing is, I guess you don't really know until you try, or if you have any other like health issues. There's a lot of things that would complicate that. Um, I got
Hmm.
off my chosen form of birth control in March, I believe it was, but I was on the shot, which is supposed to last a lot longer.
Oh,
It just depends on how you metabolize it to get it out of your system. So,
mm, yeah.
but I mean, and that's the other thing too. Nobody tells you how many pregnancies end in miscarriage. 25% of all pregnancies end in miscarriage, possibly even more. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a thing that, and I think it's societally, it's starting to change, but nobody talks about this. But chances are, like, if you know somebody with kids or somebody that wants kids, there's a solid chance that they might have experienced that. And
Yeah, that's actually something I think that I mean, I didn't know it up until recently of like I think the more like as we get older, like more people are involved in having kids and stuff, so it becomes more like understood. But I was listening to this book by Ali Wong, and she was talking about how she, I believe, had a miscarriage, and then she's saying like she felt like she was so alone, but then come to find out that like she made a joke about how basically like her and Beyonce are sisters because they both had miscarriages. But she's like, if Beyonce has a miscarriage, like it's not you, right? And like she's like the queen, or but yeah, that's super super common, and it's one of those things where like people, I mean, I have never had one, but it's like where if people talked about it more, then it wouldn't feel like such oh, like a difficult thing, I would imagine.
yeah, well, and I think it's very isolating because societally it is a thing that we don't talk about so much. It's like not only do you have to suffer with that if it was it was a wanted pregnancy and being upset about uh, losing your baby, then you also are going to be dealing with it by yourself because chances are you probably didn't tell anybody. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that just makes it extra difficult, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's something that if more people knew about it and realized how common it was, maybe it wouldn't be such a taboo thing that everyone's got to face alone. And I mean,
Definitely.
pregnancy hormones are no joke. Oh my God.
Oh, like the natural hormonal swings that you experience as a pregnant woman.
Oh my gosh, it makes PMS look like a carousel ride.
Oh, God.
The hormones
Yeah,
are
this is what we need to know.
wild.
This is what we need to know.
I feel like there's so much nobody tells you um, until you are pregnant, like actively pregnant, and then you're like, why did no one explain that all of these things would happen? I mean, like, yeah, there's the things that like you expect the morning sickness, and not necessarily as much as you get in some cases, but like weird stuff like vision changes, like your vision can change. I have absolutely horrendous night vision now, and I didn't realize it till I was in my car driving probably like most of the way through first trimester, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, why is this person's light so bright? And I was like talking to Blake, he was in the car with me, and it's like, they're just awful. And Blake's like, they're not that bad. And I'm like, yes, they are. I can't see
Oh,
anything. And he's like, no, I don't think so. And so I get home and go on Google. And sure enough, like, and I mean, for some people, it's not just night vision, like their contact or glasses prescription
okay.
like changes. And it's like most of the opticians are just like, just hang with it unless it gets really bad. I'm like, that's
Does it get
wild.
better?
I mean, yeah, usually it
Something goes
corrects
back.
after
Okay.
pregnancy, but I'm just like, that's
Okay, so you're pregnant, you're blind, you want to throw up. What else you got for us?
yeah. Oh my gosh. Crazy dreams. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Like I am not somebody that like remembers dreams at all.
huh.
And I have just like some of the most vivid, just intense dreams where you just wake up from it and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
um oh, I had my first pee sneeze a couple weeks ago.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I'm like, I think it happened when I was like, I don't know, like 17 weeks or something. And I'm like, I'm not that big yet. I thought I had more time.
So wait, please explain. I thought that was only after. So
I mean,
when you're pregnant, what's happening?
I, space is starting to get taken up in my abdomen. And if it presses just right on your bladder and you sneeze, you can be caught. I'm
Well,
like, I'm doing my Kegels. Come on.
you're like, I was doing my Kegels when it happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're pissing yourself. You're,
Yep. Yep.
oh my God.
Oh, the food aversions too. Like both with smell and like actually eating things.
Hmm.
I'm not like super carnivorous, but like I've always considered myself like I like meat. I like steak, chicken, uh,
Mhm.
all of it. And oh my gosh, like the smell of cooking ground beef or a steak cooking or just everything's just amplified and it just smells disgusting.
Oh, so in a bad way.
Yeah, in a really bad way. I mean, like you get the fun cravings. Like actually, I'm not a sweet tooth person at all, and clearly this kid is because my sweet tooth cravings have been like off the charts, and I'm like, whoa, does chocolate taste like this to everyone all
Probably.
the time?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Have you had any weird, like, I know people talk about like eating weird combinations and thinking basically like you're stoned.
I haven't like busted into like the pickles and ice cream or anything yet.
Yeah.
Just things that I don't normally like enjoy, things that
Do
I
we
wouldn't
know,
normally eat.
is there a scientific understanding of why all of this is?
I mean, I think that there is a lot of sense that comes from food aversions as far as like, I think things like meat or vegetables are more likely to spoil easier. So a lot of people do say that, especially in first trimester, a lot of those aversions are coming from your body being like, hey, maybe hang with the carbs because those are, for one, it's going to be like a quick little energy burst for you, and for two, you're less likely to get an issue with like spoiled bread versus like bad lettuce or bad meat, you
Meat.
know. Hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, actually, the other thing that no one tells you how awful is first trimester sucks.
Okay.
Like, so that's weeks like 1 to 12 or 13, depending on which
Okay,
you're
this
going
is one
by.
thing that just blows my mind is all of our life we refer to things and ages in months and years, and then you get pregnant and they're like, I'm 72 weeks along, and you're like, I don't know what that means.
Oh,
Or like, or after you're pregnant and you have a child and you're like, oh, she's 33 months, and you're like, so that's she's 2.5. Why can't you just say she's 2.5?
I was gonna say, now I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh,
No.
I totally do that now. But like, I don't know. I guess that's everything's measured in that because everything's moving so quickly and growing so quickly. That's just what
Mm,
they go off of.
okay.
But yeah,
For us
it's so true.
commoners, it's mildly irritating and confusing. I'm like,
I was gonna say, I feel like I made that
don't pick up.
shift really quick, but oh my gosh.
Like
Yeah. So first,
what is 24 weeks in terms of months?
uh, 6, I think.
Okay, so that's an under.
Don't
See,
make me do
24
math.
weeks means nothing to me.
Yeah. So, and also, by the way, pregnancy is really 40 weeks, which is more like 9.5 months than 9 months. That 9 month thing, that's a lie.
Okay, so it's 9.5 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna round it up to 10. I'm like that extra month.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not even
feel
there yet, but I know
like
I'm gonna get there.
you're at a point where like you're cute pregnant. Like
It
you have a
looks
bump and it's like fun, but
Yeah, it looks
you're not like keeling over yet in
it
pain.
looks like more is going on than me just eating a burrito. But
Yeah.
also I'm not so uncomfortable that I am like actually physically unable to get up off the couch.
Yeah.
I am making more noises when I get up off the couch, but like I can move. I can see my feet when I like lean forward a little bit, so I can still
Yeah.
technically see my feet when I'm standing.
It freaks me out to think about like I have such a small frame and you're such a small person.
Yeah.
Like being pregnant, I have a fear, I think, that like literally it would just explode. Like there's nowhere for this baby to go in my tiny little body
Yeah, I have a really
other
short
than out.
torso. Yeah, I have a short torso because I feel like it's almost like torso length more so than like body
Mm.
frame. Because like at least t- technically you can grow up if you have like a longer torso
So, yeah.
versus like if you have a short torso then you literally can only go out.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's gonna I'm gonna be that kind of massive pregnant person that like from the back you won't be able to tell it all, and then I'm gonna turn to the
You're
side and be like
wrong.
the size of a barn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're just like, whoa, taking people out with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh. Well, when I think about like Blake and I's mom, I mean, she weighed under 100 pounds and like until she was pregnant with Blake. I'm like, that is a small human
yeah,
carrying a
that's
child.
wild.
And
Well,
he
and they
weighed
say like I don't know the exact breakdown off the top of my head, but like on average, most people gain like 30 pounds in pregnancy. And like so much of that, like, 'cause I mean, like, yeah, there's probably like a 7-ish, 8-ish pound baby in there, but then the amount of blood in your body just like
mm-hmm.
quadruples. Like there's also the placenta, which is really large, and
So
that's the
wild.
organ basically that helps the baby get nutrients.
How bizarre is it that that an organ literally grows
Yeah, you grow a new organ. Like that is, I mean,
and you
that's
give birth to
honestly that's badass, but
it? It is pretty badass. And then you give birth to it. And then it's like, are you guys going to, okay, so let's talk about this. Are you going to do the whole freeze dry the placenta and eat it in pill form thing? Or like, what's happening here?
absolutely not. You do you on all of that kind of stuff. Like if that's your jam, great. But no, that's not my cup of tea, and a lot of evidence-based studies say that it's kind of woo. And actually, you can, I mean, depending on if it's not processed correctly, you can get sick from it.
Oh,
So no, not my cup of tea. But I am going to do something really interesting with my birth tissue. Actually,
excuse me. What's your
turns
birth
out
issue?
like placenta and
Okay.
gross junk that comes out along with it. Uh, you can donate it to people that train cadaver dogs. and search and rescue dogs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way that they train those dogs to be able to pick up on the scent of deceased human or whatever, looking for people is by using um, tissue from other people.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
so you can donate your placenta to search and rescue dogs, and they can use them to help find people, deceased or not deceased.
Interesting. So is there like a specific company or like an organization that that people can go to if they're pregnant and want to do that?
Basically, I think you just have to kind of check with like your local search and rescue or possibly like police dog training facilities.
Hmm.
It seems like it's a local thing. There's not like a specific one
Gotcha.
spot that you can go to, but if you look into it in your local area, it's not too hard to do. A lot of them aren't taking it right now because of COVID, because
Yeah.
obviously sharing bodily tissue
Here,
right
take
now.
my organs.
Yeah. But I think it's so cool. I think that's so fascinating. I mean, they have to have, I mean, I guess human tissue is very expensive normally. So
Mhm.
to have that as a training tool for them, that I mean, I won't be using it anymore. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It's wild. That's really cool to know. It's wild to me that like this was one thing that I never knew about until later in life, that you give birth to a baby and then afterwards you have to also give birth to the placenta and all of these
Hmm.
other bizarro things that are just like falling out of your body.
Yeah.
Super normal. Um, is there anything else that you've learned? Like, have you been reading books or finding things out that you're like, wow, I did not prepare myself nor know I'd have to prepare for that?
I'm an information person. So for me,
Yeah.
like the second I'm on to something new, be it pregnancy or something else, I like to research it to absolute death. So I've done a lot of reading. There's been a lot of books that I've liked and some that I've liked less. But there's just so much. There's so much to know about pregnancy, and there's so much we still don't know. Like
Yeah.
it's so incredible and impressive. And I mean, I feel like everybody says that, like, oh, the gift of life and all of that, but like it really is. There's so much to it, and it's so complicated. And I mean, I've had friends that have been pregnant and given birth, but I'm an only child, so like I haven't really even been around that many really really young newborn babies.
Mhm.
I mean, there's so much to learn, and and so much of the science is changing. Like things that were considered safe when you and I were newborn, now they're like, oh God, don't do that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so it's really overwhelming, and there's a lot of conflicting information out there. And like, I think a lot of other parents will understand this, but even before you give birth, there's like parent shaming going on. Like it's, whether you choose to do this thing or
Um,
not to do this thing, when to vaccinate your kids versus when to start them on solid foods versus co-sleeping, all of these things, all of these decisions, like all of a sudden you're responsible for a new person and everyone is going to judge you on every move you make.
that sounds exhausting. Well, so I guess in terms of that, I mean, it's like you have to decide that you're not going to let other people's opinions impact your decision. And it's one of those things where people should respect how people choose to parent. I mean, unless like someone's like literally hurting their children, right? Like, and you have to get like CPA involved or something like that, or whatever, Child Protective Services involved. But
CPS,
it's
yeah.
like,
CPA,
if
or
you're
like
gonna
going to
get
do your
call up
taxes.
your CPA real fast, it's tax season, friends. But yeah, and like that, yeah, it blows my mind that people think that like and I'm sure that that will happen where like moms will come up to you and be like, you should be doing this and not that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I feel like most of that I've experienced has just been like on other, on the internet, on websites, on Facebook groups, Reddit groups,
Mm,
whatever. It's you get the people that are keyboard warriors and they're sitting behind their computer and they feel all empowered. I feel like most of the people that I personally know, I've had so many friends reach out that like aren't necessarily friends that I've been like close to or talk to on a regular basis, but just people that are excited for me and supportive, and they're like, if you need anything or like how are you feeling. Most people have just been wonderful.
mm.
And like, yeah, you get a little bit of the people that are the, oh, just you wait, or, oh, you're never going to sleep again type of people. But most people are like, yeah, it's really, really fucking hard. But it's also like the most rewarding thing ever. And you're going to absolutely love it. And that's the images that those are powerful. Those are nice to hear. And they make you feel a little less terrified as a new parent.
Yeah, when you're like, I just pissed myself and I ran into a pole and I can't go inside my house because it smells like cooked meat. And
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
can't fall asleep because I'm dreaming weird.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my
Well, and
God.
I've been lucky to have a good partner through this whole thing. Like I can't imagine going through this without Blake because it's been
Mm.
especially first trimester was just so hard, and he was so supportive and helpful, and anything that even remotely sounded good to me to consume, which was not a lot early on, you would just run out and get it.
Aw. Yeah, okay. So for any of the men in the world, as a pregnant woman lady, what would you tell them?
Gosh, just be supportive, like whatever it is, whether it's just rubbing your partner's back as they're vomiting into a toilet loudly, or whether that's dealing with them when they're hormonal and like kind of they're being crazy, but don't call them that. Like be nice.
Just actually, whether you're pregnant or not, maybe like don't do that.
That's a good life philosophy,
Yeah.
honestly. And just in general, like, it's really hard. And I mean, honestly, throughout so much of this process already, Blake's even like, man, if I could take that load from you for just like a little bit and like carry it for you so you don't have to do it by yourself. And
Like
I mean, there's
Frodo Baggins with the ring over
yeah,
here.
exactly. Oh gosh. I was gonna say, am I gonna be Gollum in this scenario though?
Yeah, by the end of it, yeah, maybe.
Oh my goodness. But just and the other thing too, I think that could probably help the guys more than actually help help the non-birthing partner, would be to do the research, like see what your partner is going through, because like there are scientific reasons why we are acting the way that we are.
Yeah.
So I mean, like getting to know the science behind it and exactly what's going on, and I think it would be hard not to be to the to not be the birth partner in some ways too, because like, yeah, you get all these awful things being pregnant, but then also you do get to experience the good things. Like I got to experience the little flutter kicks first, and like didn't get to experience that until very recently when he started being able to feel kicks. Like it's pretty amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get the bad stuff, but you also get some really cool stuff too. And plus, once baby gets there, they really only want mom anyways because they got the boobs. So
You got them boobies. Have your boobs grown?
a little bit, like not an overwhelming amount. It's more sizable, but
Like, are you cupping your boobs? Or you're like, did
yeah,
they
I was
grow?
definitely doing that. Yeah, yeah.
You're like, forget a boob job, just get pregnant. No, I'm kidding.
I was gonna say, well, from what I hear, what happens afterwards, maybe not so much.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have heard some horrors about that. We'll have to have you back onto the show after you've given birth and made it through the first few months.
Yeah, I was gonna say, honestly, I might be more terrified of breastfeeding than I am of actually giving birth. I have just heard horror stories from how difficult it is from people.
And
And
painful.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh, it's just, eugh.
yeah. Well, you keep trekking along over there. No.
Absolutely. Well, okay, I do have a funny pregnancy story for
Oh,
you.
please tell us.
Um, so those that know me well know um, I get emotional over food in general, even before being pregnant. I do not do well being hungry or underfed in general. So I have two, actually I have two stories relating to food. So my first pregnancy meltdown, total absolute meltdown, was um, when I was in my first trimester and I was feeling really sick, and Blake was offering to make me food and nothing sounded good. So he said, okay, well, I'm going to make nachos for myself. Do you want any? And I said, no, that sounds horrendous. So he makes himself this absolutely gorgeous pan of nachos. I mean, just the works on top of it, like everything. They're picturesque, beautiful nachos. And he's sitting there on our coffee table. He set the nacho tray on there and was eating them. And I was sitting there watching him eat his nachos, and he looked like he was enjoying them so much. And I felt so terrible. And I didn't want any of his nachos, but I was so pissed that he was enjoying the nachos so much. And I knew I was being irrational. I knew I was just jealous and feeling like shit. But I literally had to go excuse myself to like have a fucking meltdown over how much Blake was enjoying his nachos and I didn't want any.
You're like, you don't even want them. And you were like, why do you get to enjoy the nachos?
Yeah.
That's so irrational.
And then this is just like a total credit to Blake, this story. So I have a friend that her daughter is a Girl Scout, and I always order Girl Scout cookies from her every year. And I went to order from her this year, and I actually asked my parents because my parents love Girl Scout cookies as well. And so we put in a joint order of Girl Scout cookies. My parents, for their order by themselves, I think they ordered like 10 or 15 boxes.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a lot. And I mean, I got like a handful for us too, like not that many, but still a lot. So I put in this online order for Girl Scout cookies, and it was well over $100. I mean, that's a lot of Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
So a couple weeks later, we go to my parents' house, and I'm like, oh, my friend said that she's going to drop off the Girl Scout cookies soon. And Blake just starts laughing. And I'm like, what's up? And he's like, did you put your parents' order in for Girl Scout cookies too? And I was like, yeah, we all ordered together, and my parents Venmoed me the money for their part of the order. And he just starts busting up laughing. He's like, oh my God, I thought you ordered like $150 worth of Girl Scout cookies on your own.
Just for you.
And I was like dying laughing because I was just like, why didn't you say anything when you saw a charge for $150 worth of Girl Scout cookies? And he looks at me and he's like, you're like 15 weeks pregnant. Would it really be very intelligent for me to say anything to my pregnant wife about ordering Girl Scout cookies right now?
He's like, I just figured I would let that one lie.
Yeah. So I just laughed so hard because I'm like, it's so sweet. He was just like, I'm just not even going to comment on that.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't even imagine. Like, I feel like I have pretty mild hormonal swings, but like, even I go through periods where I'm like, why am I like crying for basically no reason and like freaking out and getting so emotional? And it's almost like you're like having an out of body experience, but you don't realize that you're having it until like the next day when you go to pee and you're like,
oh,
huh. And then it's almost like this like cloud lifts off of you and you're like, wow, I feel like myself again.
I actually did. I was actually just thinking about it. I haven't had like just a total like pregnant lady meltdown cry in a while, but for a while I was keeping a list on my phone of reasons why I cry, the things that have
so great.
driven me to tears.
Yeah.
Some of the highlights included the Amazon commercial with the ballerina. That was like on around Christmas time. A dog and a cat being best friends, like some video somebody posted on Facebook. When I got a PS5 for Blake for Christmas, I got so excited because I was trying so hard to get him one that I cried when I finally did. The season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, which I mean, that's fair. Puzzle being too hard. Apparently I had a meltdown and cried over a puzzle being too difficult. When I lost the tape when I was trying to wrap Christmas presents. The Garfield Christmas special, which is not really that sad. And then a girl getting Harry Potter books in Braille. That was another Facebook video. It was really touching. She was so excited. Okay, now I'm going to cry again thinking about it. That one's legit. But yes, so it didn't take much to set me off.
You're like, I need to excuse myself now for a moment. Oh my God, that is amazing. Oh God. I feel like you could probably tell. That was a long yawn. I feel like you could probably tell pregnancy stories for hours and hours. Is there anything else that you have to share? It's been so much fun having you on. And I do have one final question.
Okay.
Who wears your pants?
Who wears my pants? Oh my gosh, I'm a listener to this podcast and I didn't even anticipate this question coming up and what my answer would be. Oh gosh, honestly, probably our dogs wear my pants.
That's what somebody else said. earlier.
Yeah, it depends on the day.
Mm.
Honestly, I don't want to wear any pants right now. They're all pretty tight. Just the no pants club.
Yeah. Did you order some pregnancy pants?
Oh my gosh, yes. And they're so stretchy and delightful. I don't know why anybody wears anything else.
Oh my God. Oh, well, it's been fun chatting. If anyone wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
I was going to say, I don't know what people would want to connect with me on unless they have flying questions. And
Mm.
no, you cannot have buddy passes. But you can find me on Instagram at Hey to the Cow. That's really the only thing I'm on. But
I feel like the only thing you ever post on there is your quarantini cocktail
oh, those
photos.
were fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
can't
did
do
have
that
those.
anymore though.
And then some cute baby pictures coming soon, I guess.
Hopefully less alienific than the ones that you've been sending. For
For
those
sure.
of you that are listening, all that we've like the what are those things called?
Ultrasound
The
pictures.
ultrasound photos in 3-dimensional are really a sight to see.
They really are.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been fun.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yay! Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Who Wears Your Pants. Please do me a favor and hit subscribe. Leave me a review or a comment so that I can turn this disaster of a show into something great. I need you. No, seriously, I do. And if you're feeling really invigorated, check out my corner of the interwebs at kirstentrammell.com, or let's get really social on the gram at Kirsten__Trammell, because as a ginger, I need all the friends I can get. Peace and love, my homies. I will see you next time.